Welcome to the Balancing Act. I'm your host, Renee, and today we're here with Bradley. He went from studying sports science and now he's a nutritionist for the NHS. So before we begin, Bradley, describe yourself in 3 words.
Wow. Why has my mind gone blank? I would say adventurous, a teacher, and one more. Calm.
Okay.
That's what I'd say. Yeah.
So for a bonus point for these lovely cupcakes, because I heard that you like red velvet, so I made these for you. Tell me one interesting fact about Uganda.
One interesting fact. We had a dictator as a president quite a while ago, but yeah.
Okay, then
Yeah.
Here you go.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
So tell us about your role. What do you do?
What I do right now. So right now what I do is I'm a public health nutritionist. So I work with people who are pre-diabetic and educate them on how to change their nutrition and general lifestyle to manage their weight, blood sugar levels mainly, and reduce their risk of developing diabetes in the long term. So it's all about health education and getting them to understand what they're doing already and how it's impacting their health in a bad way. Obviously, I come in and then coach them on how to change those things sustainably and healthily without kind of having to sacrifice too much that they enjoy as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So before you went into nutrition, you did, as I mentioned, you did your degree in sports science.
Yeah.
What made you go into sports science? What sparked your interest?
I play football at gym. I think I've always been a very active person. So from my mum will probably tell you from when I was at 4, I played football then. That's when I started playing football, doing athletics, all that stuff. So I think for me, obviously watching football and sport in general, again, it made logical sense for me. It was like a no-brainer to do sports science because of the wanting to understand the things behind performance that make it happen. So whether it's nutrition or psychology or whatever, but all the things that make athletes as good as they are at what they do, I wanted to learn about all of that and understand it. And yeah, just get into that world.
Okay. So did you envision that you would, so from the start of your degree, when you decided you wanted to do sports science, did you ever envision that after your degree, you'd be doing nutrition?
Not at the very beginning, no. I think, at what point did I think probably halfway through second year is when I kind of decided I'm going to do nutrition. However, I did go into it with thought around working in professional sport. That was my main thing. I wanted to work in football, which I did for a little bit, but I wanted to work in football for the long term. So I think when I started, I was kind of like, okay, this is cool. This is interesting. And then I started looking into football-based roles. But I kind of realized that was I think it's very competitive, but also a lot of those roles need a master's. And obviously it's only 2 or 3 roles. If I was to be a nutritionist at a football club, it'd be just me and one other person. So obviously the gate of entry is very narrow. But yeah.
Okay, so was there a defining what was the defining moment that made you say, do you know what, nutrition is actually for me? And how did that impact the rest of your career aspirations after that?
I see. I think I mentioned halfway through second year, we had a module on contemporary sports nutrition, I remember. And we actually did a nutritional analysis of our own sort of, I was playing football uni at the same time. So our lecturer, and she was essentially getting us to look at our sport and what we need to do nutritionally to get the best possible performance out of that. So doing that case study and doing that whole thing on myself, I think, one, taught me a lot about what I was doing wrong, but also right. But also at the same time, I think of all the things that I was doing at the same time was the most interesting for me. I think we all eat, right? So food is something we do every day. We eat, we drink. I was then able to look at what I was doing and think, well, how can I change this? How can I do this in a better way? And I think learning that made me want to like help other people do that, whether for health, whether for sport, but just look into that a bit more and really understand the ins and outs of nutrition. Yeah.
So what is the biggest challenge you've encountered so far?
With my nutrition or
Overall,
career?
overall, each aspect's education, going to new career. What's the biggest?
I think challenge would probably be keeping up with information, with nutrition and this space and the profession. It's sometimes can be difficult with like whether it's private clients or NHS or whatever, but like it's quite difficult to drown out the noise. Everyone has I think with nutrition, it's a space where there's science to it, but everyone also has an opinion and their own way of doing things. Some of which can work for people, some of which can't. Being able to, as a professional, you have to kind of put that to the side. And actually, for me, I try to always go on science, but also what actually is sustainable for someone and have a healthy balance. So it's quite difficult sometimes people, I think, have their own set way of doing things. Or there's always going to be, typically what I hear is, oh, I've read this, is that right? Oh, I've read this, is that right? So there's a lot of like conflicting things in this space that make it difficult sometimes as someone who coaches and like is a practitioner of that to be as solid in what you're delivering, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
So also, Bradley is a personal trainer. So I have a few questions in towards that.
Yeah.
Does your background in personal training give you a more unique advantage when dealing with clients in terms of nutrition? Because nutrition is not just about eating. You got to work out. You can eat the right things, but if you're not working out, how can you know?
No, yeah, definitely. I think sports science in general gives me a bit of I don't want to say it. There's a lot of coaches that obviously are out there that are much better than me that don't have that background, but I think it's a thing of understanding a lot of factors around things that affect people's performance and how they show up in the gym. And obviously, yeah, nutrition-wise, definitely gives a lot more of a tailored approach. I know a lot of specifics around things like protein, things like carbs, things like just specifics on how food really affects your body, even energy levels and things like that, that I think other people maybe don't. So I think it's a nice balancing act of having that knowledge, but also being able to apply it to performance, which really helps. I think it gets the best out of my clients.
Okay. So what's the biggest myth that you've heard that a lot of clients have come? So when I say myth, I mean like there's certain things on social media that says, oh, if you do this is the best way. If you do that, is much more beneficial. What are the biggest myths that you've heard?
There's quite a few, to be honest. I'd say firstly, spot reducing fat. So thinking that you can work out or train and only lose weight in a specific part of your body or tone a specific part of your body. It all happens naturally at the same time. 2, I think timing of eating, in a sense of if you eat late at night, you're going to gain weight. No, because calories are calories regardless of time. So just because you're eating later doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be putting on weight. It's a thing of overall energy balance rather than specific timing. What else? In terms of cardio and stuff like that, kind of doing it at the beginning of a workout or fasted and those types of things again, where again, it's just all about total energy you're using, and doing cardio at the end of a weight session, for example. Sometimes women are scared of getting big, muscly, bulky, looking wham, you know. But
Yeah.
but that's not really a thing as well. Like the amount of testosterone women have, of course, is far less. And it would take very many years for you to get really big. That's a concern women sometimes have, or like they hear and they're like, oh, I'm scared of weights and that kind of thing. There's a lot. I could go on, but there's actually quite a lot.
Okay, and do you find that because of these myths, do you find it is harder to like do your job in the aspects whereby do you find that there's some clients that come in with a stubborn approach and it's kind of like hard to like navigate their mindset away from that?
Kind of. I'd say that's more so in public health nutrition than PT. I think PT, the people that I typically have as clients already sold on the idea of doing exercise and fixing their nutrition. There might be small tweaks, but they're not really resistant to that change. In a sense of they already have things they think they need to do or think they need to do in a certain way. I think it's more to do with public health nutrition and getting people in who have certain habits to change those. That's when it's really difficult because they're like, I don't know. The other day I had a session and someone was like, "Oh, banana's bad for you." Like, and I was like, "What?" yeah. I was like, I reversed the question. I was like, "Do you think they are?" And they were like, "Probably not really." And I was like, it's just those little things with public health. I think PT wise, not really, not in my experience yet. Anyway, I'm sure I will encounter that though for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, what are your go-to tips? And obviously, do you use these tips for yourself to like benefit your lifestyle, etc.?
Go-to tips around nutrition or
just
exercise?
Overall in nutrition, exercise, because even if you may not have problems with nutrition, you're still going to have to have a balanced diet. You're still going to want to work out.
100%.
So what are your go-to tips?
I think one, weight training is good for anyone at any age. Muscle as something we have in our bodies means that we're preserving. It adds years to your life, whether or not you realize it, but research shows that. So if you can weight train, even if it's twice a week for 20 minutes, and you're doing that consistently, that's going to make a massive difference to your health and general well-being. The older we get as well, muscle tissue degenerates, so it drops. So if you're doing that when you're still young and able to, of course, you're increasing your chances of maintaining that when you're older. So weight train if you can, when you can, just in whatever capacity. Number two, when it comes to nutrition and food, I think don't be overly restrictive of yourself. Understand that you have habits and patterns that might be healthy, might not be. With the unhealthy stuff, just ask yourself, am I doing the less healthy stuff more often or less often than the healthy? And that way it's a balancing act. I coach people on something called the 80-20 rule, which is like a way of balancing healthy and unhealthy. If you're doing the healthy stuff more often, then of course you're going to be healthier in the long term. It's never about if you need drastic changes, obviously that's different, but it's never about, being perfect all the time. Digging into that a bit deeper, prioritize whole foods as often as you can, of course. We've heard Uncle Eddie talk about the eggs and
the many eggs.
Eat meat, eat avocados, don't eat all that. I'm allowed to swear.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, but like, don't eat all that sugary shit, as he says, right? But of course, just thinking about balancing it. Like, obviously, if your diet is consistently saturated fats, deep fried stuff, and all that, obviously that's going to catch up with you eventually. But if you're doing that once a week, or I don't know, every now and then, that you're going to be far healthier. If you can walk, do as much of that as you possibly can as well. Sounds very simple and basic, and it is, because again, that in terms of cardiovascular health, and again, just getting your body to work at slightly higher intensity than resting is going to be really good for your health in the long term. So we sit a lot these days, of course, because of work, TV, all that kind of stuff. And that's part of the reason why people aren't as active as they used to be. So if you can, walk as much as you can as well. I could carry on. Stay hydrated, drink your water.
Okay.
But those are the main things, I think. Yeah.
So, as you know, society's evolving.
Yep.
So how do you see the future of nutrition? Because you've got the use of AI now. You've got the use of social media. Because I would say about 10 years ago, you could barely go online and find certain information. So do you feel like there's like the internet, there's a bit of competition between humans and the media, internet, AI. And how do you keep up? How do you keep up with the ongoing demand and trend?
Yeah, so I coach online, and post content online. It's a crazy space. I'll be real. There's a lot going on at once. There's a lot to keep up with. Yes, I think for me it's quite easy to drown out the noise. In terms of competition with AI, you're very right in the sense of someone can go on ChatGPT or whatever and type in like, give me a meal plan that's 2,000 calories with 150 grams of protein that includes a sweet treat, for example. And they can get that and it will spit out a meal plan, foods they like and enjoy and all that kind of stuff. Where that kind of becomes not a problem, but where that becomes difficult for the person on the other end is the actual practicality of that, in a sense of you can have a plan, but the reason why coaches like myself exist is so that you're held accountable and also you're a human being and you have emotions, you have days where things are easier to do than not and all those types of things. So AI is great for getting information and knowing things, although sometimes, again, with just the internet in general, you're not actually sure of accuracy of information and all that kind of stuff. The point I was making is just that having human interaction, I think, bridges that gap from having information to figuring out the validity of it and is that actually reliable for me to do, and then the actual practicality of how do I apply this for me as a person that goes through. ChatGPT isn't going to know your work pattern or how much you sleep, all that kind of stuff. Do you get what I mean? So it's hard though. I think in the next few years, you're probably going to see a lot more of that in terms of the online space with nutrition and fitness and all that health kind of stuff. I think it's our job as coaches and like my job as someone is in the profession to just stay up to date with that information and also fact check things and just make sure that what I am delivering to my clients, or maybe stuff they've read and seen again on social media, on posts, is actually legit and not just, people, because people be making stuff up all the time. Like, yeah.
Because I'm guilty because I did use ChatGPT
to
make a meal plan, but I found that, so being from Ghana and Jamaica, I like my kenke.
Of course,
I love my ackee and salt fish.
Yeah.
My stew chicken, my macaroni cheese, etc.
Yeah.
And I do have PCOS, so I find that I'm trying to eat healthy, but my body just craves that
100%
sugar.
Yeah.
So when I made the meal plan, it was very hard because I said to them, they weren't giving me the meals that I like.
100%, yeah.
So it was like, I started to be true to myself because yes, I might see the information out there, but at the same time, it's lacking that culture. And then when I will put in that, so like I like Turkish food, I like I do make a bit of chicken shish and stuff.
Okay.
So I put that in there, the meals that I like, and it was just giving me the same repetitive.
Yeah.
It wasn't a human touch per se.
100%.
I felt like it's good. AI is good. I wouldn't say it's not, but there's limitations with AI because I feel like there needs to be a human touch.
Yeah.
And I think with nutrition, I've had a big battle with it. I don't really talk about it that much, but I find it very hard to stick to the diets. And I found the reason why it was hard is because I'm eating things, or I'm trying to not eat things and try something new that's just not, it doesn't work for me.
I think culturally as well, like when you come from certain backgrounds, like for us, African Caribbean backgrounds especially, a lot of foods that we have in our cultures are quite demonized in a sense of like they're seen as less healthy than other foods for certain, and some of them are. Yeah. But when you look at a lot of it as well, there's a lot of health benefits to some of it as well. So again, and also we just have, I think growing up, we probably have seen the way, like, again, our parents and aunties, uncles, all that kind of stuff, their relationship with food is going to translate to how we, of course, associate with it as well. So you're very right with that.
Because I found this big thing whereby, I think this was like a couple of years ago, there was a post, I can't remember what it was, but it was talking about how when like the first generation came over, they didn't have that much money. So what they would do is they would give their kids large portions of food to fill them up. Yeah. So in our culture, significantly, giving big portions of food, and our main rice is meant to be a side dish.
Yeah,
but
we eat
rice like a main dish.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's like, I was talking to an auntie about it, and she's like, yeah, like culturally, oh, you gotta eat.
Or like finish your plate, or like you can't not have a plate of food and finish it. Like, that's another thing that I've heard a lot of.
And they'll be like, people back home are starving. I understand that.
100%.
But it's like, I kind of do understand how people have kiddie portions. Yeah. Like, for example, the biggest thing that I see is like when you have a kid's party, you'll have curry goat and rice and peas. But like, I remember my friend was having a party for her kid, and she was like, oh, what should I cook? They need white rice, they need chicken. I said, finger food, like literally. Sandwiches, fruit, pizzas, little chicken nuggets. It really does help, like, because we're kids, we can have those foods, not disputing that, but it's like, I think portion control is a big thing, because even for me, when I see something, I'm looking at it and thinking, oh, that's a bit too small, I need a bit more.
100%.
And then I'll just be sitting there and I'm struggling to finish off the food.
Yeah.
And then when you go to like like Ivy Asia and stuff, and you see those small portions,
tiny portions, right?
You're
like, what's going on? Yeah.
But that's the correct portion
100%,
size.
100%. Yeah, no, you're right. You're very right about that. One thing that with my public health nutrition, that one of the first things that I try and get people to change and understand is how much is actually on their plate when they're eating. Because I always ask them, like, what do you put on the plate first? And everyone's always like, the rice or the pasta or whatever. Yeah. And then what do you put next? Probably the meat and the protein. And then veg or salad comes last. And just getting them to understand, especially with diabetes prevention and like blood sugar management, or just anyone who wants to feel more energized from the food they're eating. If you're eating a lot of carbs and a lot of processed carbs, the rices and all that stuff, of course, what that does energy-wise is give you some energy, but then you're going to feel very tired afterwards, because of it's literally just fuel for your body. It's not anything else than that. So just making those changes to portions and adapting them, people notice such a massive difference in terms of energy levels throughout. But yeah, it's a big thing for like very many people. Just forget the type of food, how much of it is actually on your plate. Yeah, it's a challenge for sure.
It's so hard, like with portion control. And it's like, I remember I met with a nutritionist before, and she said you should only be having 2 tablespoons of rice.
Damn.
That's what she said. And I remember I tried to put 2 tablespoons. I had to get a ladle, not a big massive ladle, but
I hear it though.
And I hear it. It's still a spoon.
Yeah.
But so like we spoke about a range of things. Going forward, what is you're a nutritionist?
Yeah.
Within the NHS.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service, because NHS is not for the weak. But what is your next career progression? What's the next career progression?
I think I still want to work in football. However, I'd have to do a master's for that. So I guess a master's at some point in either sport and exercise nutrition or an aspect of nutrition that I enjoy, which I can figure out quite easily. Obviously I have my online coaching business. I think I want that to be my main thing, I think. So I don't know. So right now it's just public health is nice, it's good. I think I really enjoy it. It's very impactful work, regardless. So I really enjoy what I do and actually making a difference to people's health and lifestyles and all that kind of stuff. I think a master's next, just to solidify my knowledge and really get specific with the research element of things. Working in football, maybe. I do have that on my CV already. I just want to take that to another level. If not that, maybe like having the skills I have already, just being able to advise maybe lower league or like up and coming footballers, because I think that's a lot of emphasis is put on performance and the physical side in terms of like doing the runs and doing the gym work. But obviously what you eat is going to play a big role in your performance. So maybe something like that, but that's what I need to figure out. So yeah, those are the things at mind right now though.
What do you think is stopping you from, so after you've done your degree, why didn't you go straight into the masters straight after?
I think because of the time, it was COVID when I finished, so it was just a bit sticky to, I don't know, like I didn't want to go straight into that. I wanted some work experience. At the same time, the job market was a mess. So I was just kind of like, what did I even do when I finished uni? I think I worked at a GP actually, but not doing anything health-wise. I was just like admin stuff. So yeah. And I think through that is how I kind of just fell into nutrition, because I was like, how can I still work in this space, but obviously using the skills I have. So yeah, I just wanted some work experience and to kind of take a break from uni as well. I think finishing my degree whilst at home and like all that, it was a bit chaotic. So yeah.
So like, oh my gosh, it just went out of my head. Do you say to get into sports science as a whole, not just specifically for nutrition, would you say work experience is paramount for you to
get into a sports science related career? Or
sports science related, sports science career,
yeah, definitely. I think companies will look at with sports science, there's the theory aspect of knowing how things affect whatever. So with sports science, there's nutrition, there's psychology, there's biomechanics, there's physiology, there's anatomy, there's so many different aspects of it, right? And obviously you can know the theory of it, but the best thing is of course being able to say that I've helped people actually do this thing, whether it's tailor their nutrition or learn how to run better through joint angles and biomechanics and technique. 100%, like anyone that's hiring is going to want to know that you have a balance of both. You're able to read about it and understand it, but you're also able to go into the field and do the thing practically and make interventions for people and all that type of thing. That's all with, I think, and most types of science really is about being able to do both. But yeah, definitely get experience where you can.
So like, where's the best place to look for these experiences?
I think it depends on what it is and how you're trying to go about that. But I think in general, what I will say is annoying is typically you are not paid for these opportunities, which is like when I was at Barnet Football Club, I did 6 months unpaid, so I had to like juggle my job and that at the same time. However, if you're willing to make that sacrifice for your career, I think it's worth it in a sense of you have the experience, of course. Where to find them? LinkedIn really helped me with that because it's like a year after I finished, or like not too long after I finished uni. So I was just looking out for internships, and football clubs especially do, I think like pre-season, so like August, September time, or July, August, September time, was when I was seeing a lot of clubs posting they're looking for interns and that kind of stuff, and they'd specify what the role is. So if it's data analysis or physio or whatever, that's one place. So LinkedIn, if not, on Twitter, which is now called X, actually. Yeah.
X.
But anyway, on there, I follow I've forgotten the name of the account now, but they post sports science jobs daily. So I had notifications on for that as well. And again, it's internships and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So that was really helpful. But it's just about staying connected in your network and just figure out what's the how can I get my foot in the door? And normally that's by just speaking to someone. So those, in terms of where to look, those two places for sure. If you need the account,
I'll add.
Yeah.
So what we do is I'll add the link
Cool.
below.
Yeah.
I'll also add the link for Bradley's personal training account.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So
cool.
then, if you have any questions, would you be able to answer?
Happy. Yeah. Of course.
Okay. So what looking into when it comes to applying for jobs and work experience?
Yeah.
When you're going into the work experience world, you don't have any experience.
Yeah.
And for some people, it will be their first ever job, role, etc.
Yeah.
How would you advise someone to present themselves? Because I remember when it was my first job, even though it wasn't a career job, I started off in McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember when I started off there, I felt like I wasn't worthy of that role, in a sense whereby I had nothing. There was people that had more experience with me.
Of course.
So how would you tell people to advantage their basic skills? Because I find that a lot of us have these skills. I didn't realize I had data analysis skills. But I analyze data in my degree. And data doesn't have to be looking at numbers. It's just data that's collected about
100%. Yeah.
So how could you? What's your advice on that?
I think one, don't limit yourself in terms of there's normally a mental block between what you have as skills and what you think is needed in an environment and a space. So I think just go in open-minded, go in ready to learn always. You're never, if you're the smartest person in the room, then you're in the wrong room, because you can never learn from anyone. That's the thing. So I think go in willing to learn and make mistakes as well, because that's the only way you can, in any career. Yes, your manager might get onto you or whatever, but obviously now you have a bank of knowledge that, okay, next time this happens, I now know what went wrong and how I can fix that. At the same time, you build confidence by seeing yourself do something, I think, once and then again and then again. And then you build your own system and routine, right? So I think be confident in knowing that you'll get there. No one's ever going to walk into a room and just be, unless you're crazy talented, of course, and that's fine. But most people will have to go through that graft of just learning how to do the thing and get really good at it over time. Don't let people sort of stress you out or put too much on you as well, which is hard when you're first into a career in any way, because obviously you've got people above you that have been there for a while. Sometimes personalities clash and all that type of thing, but I just think stay in your lane, stay focused, build confidence over time, learn, ask questions, do the basics right. I think be on time, be punctual. If you're asked to dress a certain way, just do it. If you're asked to, I don't know, get on a meeting at this time, get on there 5 minutes before, that kind of thing, just so that you're building that professionalism as well over time, gradually. Yeah.
So you mentioned LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for people that are not aware of what LinkedIn is, I would say the power of LinkedIn, if you use it the right way, it can open so many doors, because I've used LinkedIn so many times. And I call LinkedIn the Snapchat for professionals. Because when you meet these people to get them on LinkedIn, because think about it like this. When you go to a party, you see someone that you like, you see someone you vibed with, you're going to be like, what's your Snapchat? What's your Insta? So when you go to these networking events, you need to be have a LinkedIn profile
100%
ready.
Yeah.
And you need to say to them, what's your LinkedIn? Can I have your LinkedIn?
Yeah, of course.
Because no one's going to really give out their personal email.
No, not really. Yeah.
So in terms of that, it leads to my next question. what networking events are there available for sports science, and if you know any, if there is at all? Because I know so I do a law degree currently, and we have something called Bright Network.
Okay.
And then there's like so many events that they have. So is there any networking opportunities?
You know what? I'm going to be very honest, and I'm actually not too sure. I'm trying to think of what I've maybe been to or seen other people go to, but besides uni and being in that space of actually in the environment, I can't think of much, which is a shame. Because normally you need to like already be in the role to be in those spaces. I don't think there's ever, I could be wrong and I probably am, but I've never heard of something where people just go to and I lied. Okay, no, wait. There's part of a community that I'm part of actually is Murky FC. I did need to apply to get into the space though.
But that's quite fairly new because
that is very new.
I found that I know a lot of people, well, not a lot, but I've heard of a few people that have done sports science.
Yeah.
And this is one of the reasons why I had you on here, because sports science is such a niche.
It is. It's very
and
niche,
it's very like, it's not what you know, it's who you know, and
100%.
who can put you into those spaces.
Yeah.
So the question that I was really kind of gauge is, I don't really know a lot about your subject.
Yep.
But I was just trying to figure out what's the best avenue for you to get those work experience.
I think, like I said, LinkedIn for sure. I think anyone you know that works, it depends on what aspect of nutrition, of course, we're talking about, but I think don't be scared to approach people. That's one thing that when I got my work experience in football, I was just sending messages to anyone. I didn't really care at that point. I was just like, you know what? I want the experience. I'm willing to work for free for a little bit. And just keeping tabs on what's going on in this space as well. What they like to see is you being up to date with whatever your field is, whether it's nutrition, psychology. They like to see that you're up to date with what's actually happening in the field. So follow, whether it's lecturers, people that do the research, follow them on LinkedIn, see what they're talking about. At the same time, get specific with your searches in terms of work experience as well. Whether that's to begin with locally, things like leisure centres, things like sports clubs, whether it's like children and kids, those are all avenues that you can probably find a way to find someone who actually is working in maybe a higher up place that you can get connected to. So it's just all about, I think, being creative. You have to be creative with it and quite versatile with your approach to things. But don't also be ready to be told no as well. I'll be real.
Okay, yeah.
The amount of times you're told no, not this time, just keep going. Like it's definitely a process, but eventually the yeses will definitely come.
So like my next question is, so I don't know if everyone's aware that when you do a degree, you can do a placement year. With a sports science degree, are you able to opt in to a placement year? And if so, would you have done that?
So I was really annoyed because when I left uni is when they offered it. Yeah, I was fuming. So I was just like, what the hell? Like, what's the point? But yeah, because a lot of people that I went to uni with did placement years and either landed roles, obviously where they went, or obviously just got enough experience to land roles straight out of uni. So definitely, I think a lot of unis are offering them now, especially with the sport degrees, especially sports science though, because where I was at Kent and I was on a different campus. I think they've moved the sports science course to the bigger campus with all the sports teams and added a year in placement as well. So yeah, do it. Go for whatever opportunities present themselves and just really use the opportunity, that year away to just learn as much as you can and yeah, really hone the skills that you've been developing. But if I had the opportunity, of course I would have done it, but I didn't. So yeah.
Yeah, because I want to add as well.
Yeah.
Even though, so a standard degree is 3 years.
Yep.
If you add on that extra year of placement,
Yep.
it will open so many doors for you. I wanted to do a placement year. However, I didn't do it simply because I've been studying for too long.
Yeah.
But starting off fresh out of college or wherever you're coming from,
yeah,
I always say to people, do a placement year.
Definitely.
Do a placement year.
Definitely.
So for your course, like I previously mentioned, it's quite a niche.
Yeah.
Is there a good uni that you should go to, or is it like you can get kind of the same content, same experiences, same advantages if you just go to any old uni?
Yeah, understood.
And if so, what should someone look for? Because like when you're looking at unis, you can see the course content.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
what should people look for when they're looking at course content and figuring out what uni to go to?
No, yeah, I think course content is going to be the same generally across the board. Slight tweaks to things. What I would look out for is research. How much research is the uni doing of their own in terms of whether it's athletes, whether it's students, but how much research are they contributing to in that field? That's really important because it shows that they're, one, up to date with what's going on, but two, also going out of their way to make their own discoveries around things. In terms of unis, the best for sport is obviously Loughborough because of just the people that work there, but also all the sports teams. So typically people that go there get to work alongside sports teams at the same time. So that's just really cool and fun. And again, the best way to practically apply what you're doing. Course content, everyone's different with what they look out for, but I think with science, across the board, good nutrition, good psychology, anatomy, physiology, like biomechanics, as long as each year there's a development of all those things in a specific way, that's the main thing. But it will be quite, because there's the same like general things across the board, you'll be quite good going to most places. But like I said, the research thing is really important. So look up the lecturers and what research they've been involved in.
Okay.
If you see quite a lot, that tells you that they're actually people that, well, they are professionals in their field, but they're also doing that extra level. They're not just teaching, they're also adding to research material. So that's a really key place.
That's very interesting because I never thought to do that, because when I was doing my degree, I literally looked at my third year modules, because year one, well, I kind of looked at my second year because there was like 2 optional modules, and then my third year is just fully, I can just choose whatever I would like.
I see.
So if we just go back to the beginning, before you went to uni, what did you study? Did you study A level? Did you study BTEC?
I did A levels. What did I do? Biology, psychology, and PE. Yeah, so I did A levels. I didn't do that well, to be honest. I could have done much better, but still got into unis. Like, yeah, but I didn't get into my first choice was Birmingham, I believe. I didn't get into there because of my grades, so I ended up going to Kent instead. But I'm still where I am, so I think just even if things don't go as well, there's always a backup plan and options. But yeah, I did A levels. Do I regret doing A levels? Maybe, because I could have
done a BTEC.
Yeah, but it's okay. I think everyone's got their own path and different way of doing things.
Did you work
at uni?
Work when you was doing your A levels?
No, I didn't. I was at sixth form, so it was just that and that home, like, yeah.
So when you was at uni, was you working?
Yeah. I worked mainly summer jobs. I was working at a summer camp as a manager there, but that was something I was doing previously anyway. Second year, I got a job as a student ambassador, so just doing events for the uni itself. That way it was on campus, so I wouldn't have to like travel back and forth and all that kind of stuff. Work did get in the way a bit with my second year, like grades a bit again. So I think obviously sometimes you have to juggle that. You have to be very, very organized though. So I remember with one, like, couple of my pieces of coursework for uni, of course, they just weren't, they weren't on job. Like, that's because I was busy working and making money was more of a priority at the time, of course. And sometimes it might be, but I think just be very, very organized with that if you are to If you can get a job at uni, like in the area, do it rather than doing the back and forth from home.
I did the back and forth for about 2 years.
Because that is a lot of
A lot.
But
it was costly.
It's literally.
It was. So I've been working throughout my whole degree, and for the first 2 years, my job was in London, and I had to, like, what I would do is on the Friday after my lecture, I would pack my bag, run to the train station, get on the train, go to sleep. My earliest start time for work was about 4:30 in the morning.
Goodness.
So I was just going into bed and stuff. But I would, if I had a choice, I wouldn't have worked. Okay. However, I use working and studying to my advantage, because when you go into certain fields, so the area that I want to go into, you got to do a lot of juggling.
Yeah, I hear it.
So I really like spotlight on that and say, well, I've had to study. I had to attend lectures. Also had to, like, you know, work, put the travel time in there. And I've, like, organized myself. I did use ChatGPT.
Yeah, okay.
But I used it so to, like, timetable to see what I'm going to do. So I put my working times, I put my lecture times, and then I said, okay, these are the things that I need to do. Where should I fit that in? Understood, and when I've done that, I will tell you, it literally, when I look at my day on a Monday, it's quite full. Actually, no, that's not a full day. My fullest day is maybe a Tuesday. When I put that time in there and I said, okay, this is what I do, this is what I do, it actually broke down and it actually gave me more time to do things. It gave me an hour to eat. It gave me all of these things. So it was just like, okay, I use it as a guide. I don't use it as a, I don't rely on it heavily. I just use it as a guide, because I find that when you timetable things, you're not being true to yourself. You're going to go out. You're going to want to go out. You're going to want to talk to your friends on the phone.
100%.
So I would say, if you're going to organize time to socialize.
100%.
Because if you don't, it's just going to mess up your timetable.
No, it's very
You're
true.
going to want to socialize.
Yeah. You're very right. Even with with me, like, I obviously work a 9 to 5, but also run a business. That requires a certain level of organization where, of course, if I have to put in time, for example, to go to the gym, or I just block out time that's blank in terms of I can do what I want in that time as well. So it's very important to know how you work as a person. If you procrastinate a lot, block in scheduled time to do things, put your phone away, put a timer on, or on your laptop or whatever, and work for that hour or whatever. Once that's done, that's that block of work done, then you move on to the next thing. Sometimes people, I think, get into, when it comes to that productivity and that kind of stuff, which I still struggle with, I'll be honest. But, like, you fall into the trap of, you have a routine and a schedule, and it's like 9 to 10 is this, or 10 to 11 is this. But then because you don't finish what you're doing, or you're not as productive with that time, it's like it gets to 12 and you're still doing the same thing. And then you still have X, Y, Z to do. So working to timers, I think, really helps me in general, because I know 9 to 10, it's just for this. If I don't finish it, I don't care. I'm going to move on to the next thing. So if that helps anyone.
Procrastination.
Yeah.
It's...
Because I think we all struggle with that in some way.
It's... I think the key is just admit it. Just admit you're a procrastinator.
No, literally.
Admitting is the first step.
100%.
So what are your key takeaways that people should take from this interview? Because we spoke about a lot, we've covered a lot. What are your 3 main key things that, if someone told you at the beginning of your degree, it could have really benefited you?
I think there's a lot of different ways that you can get into whatever it is you want to. There might be the normal path everyone else takes, but there's other avenues. So don't limit yourself in terms of what you can do to get your foot in the door. I think take part in, with my degree especially, but take part in research. Be a test dummy. Be someone that's on the bike doing the work while someone's recording the numbers. So you know what it feels like to be part of research, but also know what's going on in the background of it. That's really important. That really helps with then when you're reading a paper, you know what that kind of stuff means and actually looks like. And I think thirdly, do social things and like sport or whatever it is for you, but do social things that also can take away from the like pressure of the academic side. So just whether it's sport, whether it's whatever it is socially that you can do, I think make the most of that. Yeah.
Okay, so before you go, I would like to know, what are your biggest challenges, personal, not about just career wise, etc. What are your biggest personal challenges you face?
Personal? In what sense?
In a sense whereby, so obviously studying, were there times where you said, you know what, forget about this degree, I don't need it, I want to leave, I'm done?
Not really. I'd say personally, probably just imposter syndrome is a thing. I think where I am right now, I obviously have a lot of skills and I'm good at what I do, but I think accepting that and kind of getting to a stage where you're actually like, you know what, this is me, this is what I'm doing, I'm good at this, I'm clearly in the role I am for a reason. That can take some time. I think especially when, like, I'm 26, so obviously still very young and still have so much more experience to gain. But that's a thing. And just juggling the fact that, like, as with online coaching as well, probably one thing I had to get over very quickly was talking to a camera. That really irritated me. At the beginning of the year, I was like, why the hell am I standing in my kitchen with a tripod up, talking to a camera, talking about protein? And like, but now I really don't care. I'm just like, whatever. I think it's a lot of just mental battles in a sense of like confidence and believing in what you do, which I think everyone goes through. But if for me, I just remember that I'm making an impact to people and their health and their lives essentially, in the way that I do it. And I know that I am. So when I hear those voices and I'm like, and they're like, oh, like, I don't know, you shouldn't be doing this, or like, you're maybe a bit underqualified or whatever. It's like, not really, because obviously people in high up places have put me in that position of trust to do what I am. So yeah, I think that's a very common thing. What else? I think still the procrastination and time management thing. Like when you're in the world we live in, like with our screens and phones, like it's so easy to get distracted and just stay focused on one thing. People's attention spans are like horrible. So just, I think unlearning certain things and learning how to do things in a way that works for me. I'm my own biggest critic. Like I always put pressure on myself to, I think, be in a certain place or like have achieved certain things. Which I'm sure a lot of people do, again, like in that build up to your career and just figuring stuff out. But I think you're always gonna, I would say that if you're not trying to learn from like a mistake or something that's gone wrong, that's where the issue is. Because we all do. As long as you're learning and actively trying to do better, then you will. So yeah.
Okay, and my final question, work-life balance.
Yep.
Everybody, even myself included, when you get that big boy corporate job, as everyone calls it, after you degree, the big boy corporate job, obviously you do your personal training on the side, your coaching on the side. How is your work-life balance? Do you say it's, once 5 o'clock finish, 5 o'clock comes, you're just done? Or do you
it's sticky for me because with online coaching, I've noticed that typically I'm lucky because with my job, I don't really work a 9 to 5. I kind of work on my own time. So typically mornings and afternoons. By like 4 o'clock, I'm done. But then that means I've now then got to make content or make sure my clients are doing what they need to and that kind of stuff. So I don't really, I say to myself, I don't really switch off, but then I do at the same time. Like it's important to have that balance. I take holidays as much as I can because I'm not trying to kill myself. But no, yeah, I think it's important to have that off button and just know that from this time onwards, I'm not going to let emails or whatever stress me. It got to a point where like I actually got rid of emails on my phone in terms of the Outlook app because I used to be constantly like checking them.
Wow.
And I don't know. I don't know. I just was. And then I was like, let me just delete this app so that now it's just my laptop when I'm checking emails.
Okay.
And that's upstairs. I'm downstairs watching TV, like that kind of thing.
Okay, the switch off. So that's like, do you think work-life balance is very much important?
100%. Because stress is such a big thing for people, especially with the people I work with. It's a massive thing where that really affects their health and their behaviors in terms of like food and all that kind of stuff. But definitely a job is a job at the end of the day. Like, you're going to do what you can. If it's stressing you out to the point where it's impacting your social life and all those other things, you really need to, I think, take a think and just, is that really worth that much in terms of that? So yeah, definitely be able to switch off and detach the two. Like, your life is very separate to your work life. Don't try not to take things from that into your personal life. That's when things get a bit all over the place for people.
Okay then. Well, Bradley, thank you very much for giving us your time.
Thank you for having me.
Insight.
No worries.
So there will be links below for Bradley's page and also the links for work experience and
yeah.
If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment. Please like and subscribe and turn on your notifications so you'll be notified when we release an episode. And also make sure you're following our Instagram, as I will be posting some study tips, budgeting tips, and as well as that, I'll also be posting some events. If I see any events around, I'll post it on there as well. Nice. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.